Our planet has a strange sense of humor. Just when you think you understand how the world works, it throws something at you that makes absolutely no sense. A sky that turns orange in the middle of the day, an animal wandering somewhere it has no business being, a crack in the ground that appears out of nowhere. Today we're counting down 75 of the strangest, wildest, and most unbelievable moments caught on camera around the world in 2026. Some of these will make you gasp, some will make you laugh, and a few might make you want to double-check the sky above your own house. Let's get into it. A freshwater lake in southern Chile disappeared almost overnight, leaving behind nothing but cracked mud and confused fish. Geologists believe an underground fissure opened and drained the entire basin in a matter of hours. Beachgoers in Tasmania watched the surf light up an electric blue as bioluminescent plankton bloomed along the coastline, turning every breaking wave into a shimmering ribbon of light. Residents in a small Texas town woke up to find dozens of small fish scattered across their lawns after a waterspout pulled them from a nearby lake and dropped them miles away. A waterfall in northern Norway that has iced over every winter for decades stayed completely liquid this year, puzzling locals and drawing scientists eager to study the shift. Golfers in Arizona had to pause mid-swing when a herd of wild Mustangs wandered straight across the fairway, grazing calmly as if the green belonged to them. Tourists in Morocco recorded a low humming sound coming from the dunes themselves, a rare acoustic phenomenon caused by sand grains sliding against one another in just the right conditions. A family in rural Australia returned home to find a kangaroo had hopped through an open door and was casually standing in their kitchen, apparently unbothered by the appliances. Residents across 3 counties reported a loud, unexplained boom that shook windows, with no earthquake, plane, or explosion ever officially identified as the cause. A river in India briefly turned a vivid shade of pink after an algae bloom coincided with mineral runoff, creating a surreal sight that drew crowds to the banks. Satellite images captured an enormous iceberg off Antarctica with almost perfectly straight edges, a natural formation so geometric that many assumed it had to be man-made. For a 2-week window each year, thousands of fireflies in the Smoky Mountains blink in unison, creating a pulsing light show that looks scripted, but is entirely natural. Passengers on a whale-watching tour off New Zealand were startled when a curious humpback whale surfaced directly beside the boat and appeared to watch them right back. For several days each spring, a town near the equator in Ecuador experiences a moment where the sun sits so directly overhead that vertical objects cast almost no shadow at all. A group of flamingos, thousands of miles from their usual habitat, turned up wading through a flooded parking lot in the Midwest, likely blown off course by a storm system. Spelunkers exploring a limestone cave in Slovenia discovered a chamber where bioluminescent fungi coat the walls, casting a faint green glow across the entire space. For the 6th time in recorded history, a rare cold snap dusted parts of the Sahara Desert with snow, turning the orange dunes white for a few surreal hours. Villagers in Nepal credit a farm dog with saving lives after it began barking and refusing to stop minutes before a hillside gave way behind their homes. A hiker in the Swiss Alps captured a full 360-degree rainbow forming a complete circle around their shadow, a rare effect that usually requires viewing from high altitude. An aquarium in Japan discovered one of its octopuses had squeezed through a gap no wider than a coin, made its way across the floor, and vanished down a drain overnight. Fishermen off the coast of Indonesia spotted what looked like a small floating island, only to realize it was a massive raft of pumice stone from an underwater volcanic vent. Residents of a Colorado town watched a dramatic, hours-long dry lightning storm light up the night sky without a single drop of rain reaching the ground. Scientists recorded a strange, high-pitched whistling sound coming from an iceberg off Antarctica, later determined to be caused by meltwater rushing through narrow internal tunnels. Boaters off the coast of Alaska were shocked to spot a black bear swimming steadily several miles out to sea, apparently searching for a new stretch of coastline. An unusual ice storm coated apples still hanging on the trees, and as the fruit inside decayed and drained away, it left behind hollow, translucent ice shells shaped like apples. Drivers along a highway in Texas found themselves surrounded by a massive migrating swarm of monarch butterflies so dense it briefly reduced visibility on the road. After years of drought, unexpected rainfall triggered a super bloom in a normally barren stretch of the Atacama Desert, covering the ground in wildflowers almost overnight. A surfer in California paddled out only to find a young seal had claimed his board as its own personal resting spot, refusing to budge for nearly 20 minutes. A lenticular cloud formed perfectly over a mountain peak in Washington state, its smooth saucer shape convincing enough that local news stations fielded dozens of UFO calls. A coal seam fire beneath a town in India continues to smolder underground, occasionally causing the ground above to crack open and release visible smoke. After a hurricane pushed seawater inland, residents in a coastal Florida town reported seeing a small shark swimming through the floodwater in their neighborhood street. Onlookers in Argentina photographed a striking atmospheric event where the sky appeared divided into two distinct colors, one half fiery orange and the other pale blue. Every evening, over 1 million bats emerge from beneath a bridge in Texas in a synchronized cloud, a spectacle so large it appears on local weather radar. An abandoned vehicle left in a forest for years was found completely overtaken by a growing tree, its trunk having pushed straight through the rusted frame. Construction workers in England were startled when a small sinkhole opened up to reveal a centuries-old stone well that had been buried and forgotten beneath the street. A crew off the coast of Portugal recorded a pod of dolphins that stayed alongside their boat for over 3 hours, riding the wake the entire way back to shore. An unusually powerful solar storm pushed the northern lights far south of their normal range, letting people in parts of the southern United States witness the aurora for the first time. Farmers in the English countryside discovered an unexplained pattern of flattened crops in dead straight lines, reigniting decades-old debates about how such formations occur. Twice a year, tidal forces cause a river in the Amazon basin to briefly reverse its flow, sending a wall of water rushing upstream instead of out to sea. Wildlife cameras in rural England captured a wild fox appearing to care for a litter of abandoned kittens, keeping them warm in a den for several weeks. Stretch of coastline in the Maldives lights up with a soft blue glow after dark, caused by microorganisms that emit light when disturbed by the waves. Beachgoers in Florida watched a waterspout spin up just offshore and briefly make landfall, kicking sand into the air before dissipating within minutes. Hikers in a remote part of China discovered a cave opening that appears to exhale visible mist during certain weather conditions, earning it the nickname, the Breathing Mountain. A resident in Chicago discovered a wild owl had taken up residence on their balcony, seemingly unbothered by the noise and lights of the city below. A lake in New Zealand shifts between turquoise, gray, and deep green throughout the year as mineral concentrations and sunlight angles change with the seasons. An unusually large meteor fragment burned up during daytime hours over parts of Europe, bright enough to be clearly seen despite the sun still being out. After a mass hatching event, spiders in Australia blanketed an entire field in silk, creating a shimmering white carpet that stretched as far as the eye could see. Construction crews digging far inland in the American Midwest uncovered the fossilized remains of an ancient whale, evidence the area was once covered by a shallow sea. Strong winds in Spain carried fine desert sand from the Sahara across the Mediterranean, mixing with rain clouds and coating cars and streets in a thin layer of reddish mud. Researchers were surprised to discover a small penguin colony nesting far outside its known range, likely drawn by shifting ocean currents and food supply. Scientists studying a glacier in Iceland recorded eerie, musical groaning sounds produced as massive chunks of ice shifted and cracked deep within the ice sheet. Transit workers in a major U.S. city were stunned to find a coyote calmly walking along a subway platform before slipping back out through a maintenance gap. A rare rolling cloud formation known as a morning glory swept across the sky in Australia, resembling a giant tube of clouds stretching from horizon to horizon. A volcano in Indonesia is known for releasing sulfuric gases that ignite into an electric blue flame at night, a rare and hypnotic sight found in only a handful of places on Earth. Thousands of smooth, perfectly round ice balls washed up along a stretch of Siberian coastline, formed as slushy water rolled and froze in the wind and waves. Police in a small Canadian city had to redirect traffic after a fully grown moose wandered casually down a main street during the middle of rush hour. An intense dry storm in the Arizona desert produced near-constant lightning for several hours, illuminating the landscape in flashes so frequent it looked almost artificial. Marine biologists documented a rare instance of a coral reef in the Pacific bleaching under heat stress and then successfully recovering its color within a single season. Residents in the Midwest reported the sky turning an eerie green shade just before a severe storm hit, a phenomenon linked to the way sunlight scatters through hail-heavy clouds. Drivers in a rural part of Africa had to stop entirely as an entire herd of elephants calmly crossed a paved highway, seemingly unfazed by the waiting vehicles. A lake in Canada froze over so quickly that methane bubbles rising from the bottom became trapped mid-rise, creating a striking pattern of frozen white disks beneath the ice. Beachgoers in New Zealand stumbled upon a rarely seen deep-sea squid that had washed ashore, its unusual size and appearance drawing marine researchers from across the region. A small town in the American South reported 2 separate buildings being struck by lightning within minutes of each other during the same storm system. A widely shared photo showed a wild owl and a neighborhood cat sitting peacefully side by side on a windowsill, each seemingly indifferent to the other's presence. Strong coastal winds in England occasionally push a waterfall spray back up over the cliff edge it falls from, creating the illusion that the water is flowing in reverse. A storm in the American plains produced a hailstone large enough to dent car roofs, with residents keeping the massive ice chunk in their freezer as proof. Hikers in a New Zealand forest were surprised to find patches of ground covered in a rare, naturally bright blue fungus growing among the leaf litter. Sailors on a cargo vessel caught in rough seas reported a pod of dolphins swimming alongside the ship for the length of the storm, staying close until calmer waters returned. Tourists on a boat near Greenland captured the rare moment a massive iceberg lost its balance and rolled completely over, sending waves rippling across the bay. An unusually warm stretch of weather in France caused an entire field of sunflowers to bloom almost simultaneously, turning the landscape gold within a single day. Radar operators tracking weather patterns picked up an enormous blip that turned out to be a massive flock of migrating birds crossing an entire state in one night. Herders in northern Scandinavia guided thousands of reindeer across a frozen river in a seasonal migration, the animals moving in a tight, coordinated mass across the ice. Engineers surveying land for a new project in South Korea stumbled upon a previously unknown cave system running directly beneath a busy public park. Onlookers in the Rockies captured a faint but visible rainbow forming in the middle of a light snowfall, an unusual pairing caused by sunlight breaking through falling ice crystals. A shallow lake in Australia's outback drained through a hidden crack and then refilled again just days later after a sudden downpour, baffling nearby residents. When a widespread power outage darkened a major city for several hours, residents stepped outside to see the Milky Way clearly for the first time in their lives. From vanishing lakes to glowing beaches, wandering wildlife, and skies that refuse to behave, this year has proven once again that the natural world doesn't need special effects to leave us speechless. Every one of these moments happened somewhere on Earth, caught by ordinary people who simply happened to have a camera ready. If this list left you amazed, let us know which one surprised you the most and stick around, because the world isn't done showing off just yet.